Good evening and welcome to the 62nd annual Latke-Hamantash Debate. Just 1 second. My name is Dan Libenson. I'm the executive director of the Johanna and Herman H. Newberger Hillel Center at the University of Chicago. Sponsored today. And on behalf of Hillel, I want to welcome you to the debate in what I believe may be the last year. It will be in Mandel Hall. We'll be moving to Grant Park next year. And the date of next year's debate is actually November 24th. So we look forward to seeing you there. We're happy to have you here tonight. Before I go on, I want to thank the Neubauer Family Foundation of Philadelphia, which for the 5th year has sponsored the debate. Joe and Jeanette Neubauer aren't able to be here today, but they'll be watching the DVD, so I hope you'll join me in giving them. So wow, what a fall it's been here in Hyde Park. First, of course, we had Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, where we blow, this is a shofar, a ram's horn that we blow. Then, of course, there was Yom Kippur. Sukkot, the festival on which we build these strange huts, these booths, and we eat in them. And can you believe how excited we were at Hillel to learn that we had been given a $300 million donation simply to put a sign up in front of our... And you can, of course, imagine our disappointment when we realized that it actually went to the GSB. Now, that does not look to me like a sukkah. In any event, but of course this was a much more exciting fall than even that. There was a presidential election, you may have heard, and our community of Hyde Park, our little village, was pulled into that, sometimes in not the best of ways. Bill Ayers, for example, recently referred to Hyde Park as kind of like Wasilla. Now, I don't know Bill Ayers. Okay, he's a guy that lives in my neighborhood. But I really think that is beyond the pale. What I prefer, other folks, like John Rogers, for example, who said that Hyde Park was a magical community. Valerie Jarrett, if we could only take Hyde Park and make more Hyde Parks around the country, I think we would be a much stronger country. And of course, the most incredible compliment of all, from of all places, the Weekly Standard, that Barack Obama's neighbors, us, we all look like NPR announcers. I mean, so please, thank you, everybody who's an NPR. Now, my only question is, how would you know what an NPR announcer looked like? But that's another issue. So before we get started with the debate, I realize that some of you may not know what a latke or a hamantash is. Some of you may not even be Jewish. And I wanted to introduce them to you. The latke is a fried potato pancake, and is eaten on the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. The story behind the latke is that the miracle of Hanukkah was that after the temple in Jerusalem was liberated, an amount of oil that was enough to light the menorah or the candelabra that was in the temple. It was only enough to light that menorah for 1 day, but the oil lasted for 8 days. So the idea is that in some fashion we fry a potato in oil. But that's not actually the latke is not even a Jewish food in its initial derivation. It's an Eastern European food that was eaten, I'm told, because the potato kept over the winter, as did the animal fat in which it was fried before they came up with the story about the menorah. And it was essentially a food that was eaten, a winter food in Eastern Europe that was appropriated by the Jews to commemorate the holiday of Hanukkah. The Hamantash also did not begin as a Jewish food. It is meant to commemorate the holiday of Purim, and the story is, the idea is a fruit-filled, filled with various things, three-cornered cookie. And the story is that it's meant to commemorate the hat, or perhaps the ear, of Haman, who is the villain in the Purim story. And it's traditional to boo him or hiss when he's David. These are not people hissing for the Hamantash, I don't believe. Those are. But the real story is that the Hamantash, the Yiddish or German word for poppy is mon, and a tash means a pocket. And so essentially this was an Eastern European food, a poppy pocket. But the article in Hebrew to say the something, it would be ha, and so you would say the poppy pocket, you would say Hamantash, and ultimately the pun arose that this was something to do with Haman, who is called Haman. Thank you. But I want to tell you that appropriation goes in the other direction as well. It's not only the Jews stealing foods from others, sometimes others steal food from the Jews, and I want to show you when our president-elect, a number of years ago, when he was a debater at the Latke-Hamantash Debate, he showed an early version of his famous logo. Which he modified from the bagel, of course. Now, I want to announce that Barack Obama is here today, so please, if you could stand up. Well, apparently he's not here today. But Joe the plumber is, no. Who actually is here today, a very special guest that I want to bring our attention to, this is actually true, is Zachary Pekarsky, who is the grandson of Maurice Pekarsky. He's standing up there about 2/3 of the way. And for those of you who don't know, Maurice Pekarsky was the first director of the University of Chicago Hillel, who was the originator of the Latke-Hamantash Debate. So we owe your family a lot, Zachary, and thanks so much for coming from all over the outside. Okay, so what's the point of the Latke-Hamantash Debate? I don't know. But the objective is to determine which is superior, the latke or the Hamantash, which is the superior Jewish holiday food. And year after year, for 61 years already, we have failed to figure out this question from a Jewish interpretation standpoint, but I'm going to give it another shot today. And I think it has a lot to do with the election, because it's a traditional Jewish interpretive approach to learn from portents and omens. And we have an omen here, which is that we know there was a presidential election, a contest, and we know that Barack Obama won that contest. So if we could associate one or the other of these foods with Barack Obama, or the other with John McCain, then we would know which is the superior food, the one that would be associated with the winner of the election. So I'm going to introduce you to the traditional Pardes method of Jewish interpretation. Pardes is an acronym. The Hebrew here is an acronym where you can see that the letters are actually the first letters of each of these words. And essentially the idea is that we come to a text and believe that a text has 4 levels of meaning. There's the pshat, or the straightforward interpretation of the text, the remez, or the subtext, things that are hinted at the text, the drash, which is sort of an extrapolation from the text, a story that we might tell. People might know the word midrash, and then the sod, or the secret meaning of the text. And again, remember that our goal is to figure out which of these foods would be tied to Obama and which would be tied to McCain. So first I'm going to look at the simple surface level, the pshat, that really is, again, it's the surface level. It's not very complicated. And I think you can see, again, the picture is not great, but so I will go to the next slide. But clearly, so simply on the surface level, it's clear. Now, another surface level explanation that we might go for: what are the candidates' own preferences? Right? What do they like to eat? And you may have seen this picture.